Now that I'm comfortable, I tried using my camera, y'all. I don't know what I'm doing, but okay, here it goes. I don't know if it's nervousness or what, but I'm okay. I'm okay. We're going to get through this, right? We got to get through the hard stuff, right? So I will be reading the prelude to my new book, Birthing the Queen Within, a journey to embracing your inner power and living a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. And the prelude is entitled, Hiding in the Shadows of Pain. Okay? As I lay there in the bed, all I could see was the light from underneath the door. I was silently listening to the music, hearing the laughter, and smelling the aroma of cigarettes in the air. I was conditioned to the late night parties my mother and the man I called Daddy would have. They had parties just about every night. It appeared people were always in our apartment. Being the only child, I enjoyed the socializing because it gave me a chance to escape from the dark place. The place that I was told not to ever tell Daddy because he wouldn't understand. The year was 1980, and I was 5 years old. I lived in Baltimore, Maryland, Charm City, where the grimy HBO series The Wire was filmed. In the 80s, the heroin crisis went through my city like a wildfire, destroying homes and families, including mine. My mother and her boyfriend were both a part of the heroin epidemic. Our apartment was known as a shooting gallery. For those who might not know, a shooting gallery is a place where users of drugs, addicts, whatever you want to call them, will commune and get high. As a child, I saw so much, things that most adults couldn't handle. I was numb to the madness because it was my reality. I was used to the heavy traffic coming in and out of my apartment. I knew everyone by first name. I would watch my mother and her father and her boyfriend, which was my daddy, shoot up dope. But there was one thing that I could never understand. When the parties were over and I was in my dark room alone, that is when my voice was silent. When the door would open and I would pretend to be asleep. However, it never seemed to work for me. I cried and I pleaded. As a young child, I was forced to perform sexual acts. I was told that she loved me. That was when she left my bedroom and I cried myself to sleep night after night.
She was my mother.
The very person I should have looked up to as a role model, but instead I hated, feared, and loved her all at the same time. I loved the person she was when people were around. She was the life of the party. She would laugh and cut up with everybody. I enjoyed when she would tell me stories about my biological father, who I never seen to this day. Our most special times were when she taught me about God. Yes, God. Through all the drugs and even the molestation, she was the one who introduced me to him. The madness, which was my reality, went on until the age of 9, after my mother overdosed from the very thing she seemed to love most, heroin. I didn't know how to feel. I lost my mother. I remember my daddy trying to explain what happened with tears rolling down his face. I didn't flinch. It was as if I had a heart of stone. After he was able to tell me that she died, I wiped his face and told him it will be okay. The man loved my mother so much. He cherished all the things I loved about her, but he didn't know that she robbed his baby girl of her innocence. My mother would transform into a monster who came to check on his angel at night and raped her by forcing her to do things that would make him hate the ground she walked on. He didn't know that monster because I never said a word. My silence made me a cold and disconnected little girl. All through school, I was called the quiet girl, but little did they know I was hiding because I didn't want anyone to figure out my shame. I turned my hatred from my mother inward. I hated everything about myself to the point I considered suicide. However, I started being noticed by boys in school. At the age of 14, I hopped in the bed with the first boy who told me he loved me. That pattern continued until I found myself at the age of 21, divorced with a baby boy. At that moment, I turned back to the God I was introduced to by the monster who robbed me of everything. And that's how the story began. So, for those who might not know who I am, my name is Corinthia Williams, and I'm a child of abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, and some may say even spiritual abuse. And I'm here to tell my story. So that's why I've started this series. This is, of course, part 1 of the series, Birthing the Queen Within.